I did not realize you were starting right then.
All right, you know what? No introduction. We're going right into it. This is Justin Levy.
And Jonathan Melma.
And that is the intro now to the Stripe Sox podcast. As we talked about last week, if you didn't watch last week's episode, please do. It is our hitting special now. So we're going to try and knock it out of the park this week.
Yes, sir.
And so just want to start off with
Padres.
Jonathan. We got to catch up with what's been going on in the news today. And that's pretty much that Ronald Acuna tore his ACL. One of the most electric bats and players, MVP candidate every year in the league, is now done till 2025.
Yep. Which it's sad, especially since he tore his ACL, what, 2 years ago?
Yep.
Um, and yeah, it's just especially following up a 70-40 season last year, or a 40-70 season, however you want to say it, last year. Just have one of the most electric and most well-known players out of the game really sucks. Um, and it'll be interesting to see what the Braves do this year to fill that spot. They signed Jorge Soler 2 years ago to fill that void. But we'll have to see what they do now. It is quite sad though to see him out, especially for the same injury, and such a harsh one as
And
well.
the question now, would they think about putting Marcell Ozuna in Ronald Acuna's fielding spot? Put him out in right field.
I think you'd consider it, but I don't know. I think you also have to look at, I don't know their outfield farm system that well. Do they have anybody who they could pull up, or are they going to go to free agency?
I
I
mean,
think
knowing the Braves, they're definitely about to just call somebody up who's going to be like the next Ronald Acuna for no apparent reason.
I would not be surprised at all if they did that. I also wouldn't be surprised if they just signed a random guy who most people think is past their prime, and then he has a really good bounce back year. Um,
Who?
Adam Duvall.
No, he signed with the Braves already.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was a free agent or if he signed back with them.
I was gonna say, what if, hear me out, they do what they do best and steal all the A's best players. So then they trade and get SDU Ruiz,
They're not,
who
they're,
they already traded in a different deal.
yeah, they aren't. The thing is, the A's won't trade history, I don't think. On the other hand, I could see them trading Brett Rucker.
Ooh, that's an interesting name.
And Brett's a lot more of a consistent bat. Um, like I love Esturi, but I don't think it's what Atlanta would be looking for. Plus, his defense leaves a bit to be desired, which that isn't necessarily his fault. He was originally a second baseman who they converted to a center fielder. So, that's for a lot of guys, that's quite difficult to make that jump. So if they were going to trade for anybody off the A's, though, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Rooker, honestly.
And that's not necessarily a name I really think of it. I know that we're supposed to do hidden special, but we're just hammering on the Braves. Like, here's something that would be very interesting in my opinion. So obviously the Marlins are going to be sellers.
Mhm.
That's they established that a while ago. What if, let's say, they were to trade off a piece like Jazz Chisholm, knowing they can get a lot back? Who is playing the outfield?
The only thing is, though, I mm, I guess this also stands true with Rooker. Are they going to trade for a rental? And I think that they do trade for a rental. I don't think that you trade for a long-term solution there because you assume that Acuna comes back next year and is fine. And then what do you do with that piece? You have to trade somebody else or trade
Hmm.
that piece. So I feel like you have to trade for a rental almost. Um, is Jorge Soler?
He's on the Giants. He signed a long-term deal.
Okay. I know
Bring
I
him back just for the
last year he was
vibes.
at Miami. I knew huh?
Just bring him back for the vibes. I mean, again, last time Ronald Acuna tore his ACL, they
That's
didn't
why I
win
was
the World
saying Soler.
Series.
I, you know,
tough. I know again, this is all hypothetical, but those are just I don't know what it would be. Think about because you know that the Marlins would be selling a piece off.
Yeah. And
And
I'm still thinking a lot about last year's rosters, which is why I said Soler, because he was on a 1 year contract. Um,
I would
yeah,
say if the White Sox are
honestly, White Sox, do you trade
I could see Jimenez, Eloy
yeah,
getting moved.
or after
Tommy
Robbie?
Pham.
Thank you. I was like, I know who this is. I was like, he got in the fight with Jack Peterson. I had to think,
Giants.
yeah. You guys aren't competing. Do you guys trade
Oh,
Tommy Pham, try to get something?
I mean, that's the rumor. I would prefer Tommy Pham somehow being now a long-term piece because he has that can do no filter attitude that is needed in a locker room.
Yep.
So I would think probably just because he's a loan, just because he would be loan piece, just easy for a year. He's on a 1 year deal, no high risk or low risk, high reward.
Right. That's kind of why I was saying it. It's a rental piece and it's a team that we know isn't going to compete. Um, so it's like, do you?
And I would like to keep Fam, maybe sign him to a 2, 3 year extension, but I see that probably he's going to be thrown to a contender as a
I
rental.
think optimally you do re-sign him, but depending on the price that you can get for him, it might be worth it, you know. If
Yeah,
they want to toss you a prospect and maybe a middle of the road minor leaguer, you know. As long
yeah,
as you select that middle of the road minor leaguer right, you can find a pretty good piece out of there.
of course.
Uh, you have to hope that that prospect is good, but really your farm system could use a big boost. So potentially getting one or two prospects, even if they're not highly rated prospects, would probably help out your farm system a lot.
And at this point, it's not necessarily like pitching prospects that are needed to fill the farm system.
No,
It's hitters. We need
it's a lot
hitters.
of your, yeah, it's a lot of your position players.
Considering the Birmingham Barons are probably the best pitching staff in in any level of the minor leagues right now. Drew Thorpe is probably the best. I'm not pretty sure he is the best pitcher in the minor leagues right now.
Yeah, you guys have strong pitching. I feel like Chicago, like the White Sox typically have a pretty strong pitching staff.
It's they
Uh,
don't know how to develop hitters.
right. That's why I was like, yeah.
Okay, before we get
But
too much into tangents, we got one more quick current event, and that is Angel Hernandez is retiring effective
yep,
immediately from the MLB. 30-year umpire. I mean, I can't believe it's been that long.
33 years actually.
Thank you. And so I will say it's an end of an era.
Yes, it
No matter
is.
what people think of Angel Hernandez, it is the end of an era.
Yeah. And actually, if you look at his grading, not on ump scorecards from actual MLB, because MLB has a different scoring system than umpire scorecards. He's actually middle of the road to slightly above average most of his years for umping. And it's just he happens to get caught in some really bad calls. It's some big moments and it gets blown up. Um, yeah, but definitely at the end of the era. Him being 62 years old though, definitely time for him to go. Not necessarily because of the age, but he's been there for a while. He deserves to be able to retire, is more so what that is.
I mean,
So I
that's
wish him the
it.
best retirement.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with like the eras because Joe West and now Angel Hernandez both gone in the past few
Yep.
seasons. Like these like it's a new wave of umpires coming in.
It is. It is. You're getting more accurate every year. Even your tenured guys like Angel Hernandez are more accurate than they were, 15 years ago, just because umps are getting better in general. It's just
However, we
everything can get shown to everybody now, so the bad calls are more noticeable. That's really what it is.
we will always remember the amazing exchange on Sunday Night Baseball between Kyle Schwarber and Angel Hernandez.
Yes, I was going to say that, but you beat me to it. There are some very, very, very memorable moments with Hernandez and batters, and managers. Um, so
Before we get into too much defense or bashing, we should probably keep this keep this on the go. Keep
yeah,
it
and
going.
get back to batters, which
Yeah.
is more of this or of this episode.
So I guess let's start with a discussion on batters following these current events being just in general, hitting is such a it's an art. It really is because you can have the best hitters in the game of baseball, but then they go and coach and they're just not good. And it's vice versa. Or you can get like the really good and really good, or the really bad hitters, major league experience, so they come and be a hitting coach. They're still fairly bad. But it's just it really is an art just trying to get your swing, timing, fractions of a second, trying to pick up that ball out of the pitcher's hand, knowing where the spin's going, knowing the location, knowing the velocity, knowing the drop, knowing everything that comes in with a pitch. Like it's just like it's one of the hardest skills
Oh,
ever.
easily.
In any sport, try and name it. Skating on the ice in hockey, okay, that's already pretty hard in itself. And that's not coming from somebody who ever tried skating. It's called falling on my butt and sitting on ice. It is a great so, but just baseball and hitting, like doing that, having a 300-yard drive, I'd say is one of the hardest things to do up here. Being able to be in a NASCAR race for as long as you are, like that takes an F1, that takes a lot of skill and reaction time. Hitting a baseball still up there fairly high
Mhm.
because of how short the distance is between the six, because 16 and a half in 60 feet, 6 inches is a very quick time frame for something going 90 plus miles an hour. Now even 100 plus miles an hour.
I would say, and you have pitchers throwing harder than ever and with more spin than ever. It's harder than ever to hit a ball, and you see that with batting averages. And yes, a lot more guys are not trying for contact anymore, but I feel like even if guys are trying more for contact, you're still going to have a lot lower rate just because pitchers are getting that much better. There's only so much you can do as a batter to counteract that, truly.
I mean, even with the stat now, swing speed in analytics, batter
Mhm.
swing velocity. I know we talked about this, I think, in our preview one of our more previous episodes, but it's insane to think about just how hard these guys have to swing. You have a pitch coming in at, let's say, Paul Skeens throwing 101 going this way, and you're
Mhm.
swinging that bat trying to get 80 miles an hour to make contact with that pitch. Like that's like just thinking about that math and the analytics behind all that, plus your timing where you plant, load, and swing through.
Where the barrel hits the ball, and if you even barrel it, what's the launch angle? There are so many things that go into a hit. Um, and yeah, it's a lot different than a lot of other sports. Um, just because you're trying to hit something being thrown at you, versus like in basketball, you're trying to shoot at a stationary target. Um, football, you're trying to throw to somebody, but imagine if the receiver like had to swing something to catch it, like just how hard that is.
And so kind of with like hitting this mastery of it, who would you say has been one of the players you wish you could have been able to see hit?
Oh, there are so many, so many batters, in so many instances. So I was alive and I vaguely remember Cabrera's Triple Crown and MVP seasons. I wish that it would have happened a little bit later in my life, just so I could have remembered it more. Um, but for something that I wasn't alive for, I think Barry Bonds's 73 home run season. Um, you know, that or him breaking the all-time home runs record would have been fun. Um, the long gone summer in 1998 with McGuire and Sosa. And we had something kind of similar with Aaron Judge um, in the past 2 years, but it wasn't as special, I feel, or at least for me, it wasn't. It didn't feel as exciting. Um, even as the Bonds one. And a large part of that was he was chasing the American League record, not the MLB record. If he would have gotten closer to 70, then I think it would have been a lot more exciting. And I think another thing that plays into that too is the popularity of baseball. Like when Bonds did that, baseball's popularity was at an all-time high or one of the highest it had been. And now baseball, it's still popular, but it's nothing compared to what it was during the home run race and Bonds this time, the whole steroid era, where it was really a big resurgence for baseball as a whole. Um, so it would be interesting to see if somebody did challenge Bonds' record, if it would be as exciting as that was, either the single season or the career. Even though the career is going to be nearly impossible to beat, but we'll see.
Let's see. Yeah, that's I mean, Bonds obviously was alive during when we were each at least born, but at the same time, it was when we were so young and couldn't really appreciate the game enough that we would be able to ap- appreciate the greatness. Him actually getting to 363 and just that insanity of everything that's surrounded with him in San Francisco. But I guess even going further back, just for me, like I'd want to be there for Hank Aaron's chasing 715.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's got to be one of the most insane times to be a baseball fan. Just and everybody thought Babe Ruth was just this myth. He was not like you couldn't really believe that this dude actually existed. He actually played this game. He actually did what he did. And then you just have Hank Aaron coming along, and he's proven whatever Babe Ruth just did in the 20s and 30s absolutely is possible. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to break that record. And he did. And it was, and just the hype around it, seeing the fan excitement. Obviously, iconic photo, fans trying to shake his hand as he's rounding third base in Atlanta. Like that's an insane image. And just being there watching that race has got to be one of the most like coolest experiences as a baseball fan.
Oh, for sure. It's also crazy to think like fans just running on the field for that stuff because today that wouldn't really happen. Um, but going back to more older players like you were talking about, which I would love to have seen that. That would have been great too, and the excitement. But thinking of like Ted Williams playing or Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, seeing Prime Mantle play, a lot of the Babe Ruth, a lot of these really big names, these legendary names that you grew up hearing about, Roberto Clemente, and just seeing any of these guys play, really anybody in the Hall of Fame, basically. I think it would have been really fun. Pete Rose breaking the hits record, Ty Cobb playing, all those
Mhm.
would have been a lot of fun. Um, so I think to pick one would be next to impossible.
I know I made a diabolical question there.
Yeah, I guess thankfully for us, we don't have time travel with only one thing we can go to. That would be a really difficult, but I mean, someday if we get time travel, then maybe we have to make that choice. But at least right now we don't. Um, yeah, there's just so much um history and so many iconic moments that you could go back to, and all of them would be fun. Um, going back to the shot heard around the world.
Mhm. Bobby Thompson.
Yup. Or Kirk Gibson's home run. Like there are so many just iconic plays, iconic at bats. Oh,
Joe Carter's home run to win the World Series.
thank you. I was like, who hit the Joe Carter's the Pirates
Bill
player.
Mazeroski hitting the first ever
Thank you.
walk-off home run in Game 7.
Yep. I would say we just named the only two walk-offs in World Series history, like walk-off to win. Either one of those would have been amazing to witness in person. Um, yeah, just so many. It would be great.
Uh, I mean, as I say, even just more thinking about it, you have Cal Ripken Jr.
Yup.
winning the Iron Man.
Yep. Oh,
And
going back to see like Al Kaline for me as a Tigers fan would
gonna
be
watch
fun.
Manny Minoso.
There are so many great players that it would be such a joy to go back and watch in their prime.
Okay, I'm gonna pose kind of a second two-part question. As you already said, Kaline, who would be the one player in Tigers history you would want to go watch
The one player
in their prime? Not necessarily like that you weren't alive for, so not Miguel Cabrera Triple
I
Crown.
was gonna say I could not say Miguel. Um, oh, and I cannot see Megler Ordonez walk off. And you mean batters, right?
Yes.
Okay, because you said player, but I was assuming batter. Oh, Al Kaline would be big. Kurt Gibson would be big. Ty Cobb. I know I'm naming like the big guys for the team, but that's kind of who you pick. Um, out of these. Oh, I'd probably say 1984 Gibson in the World Series. Because just to experience us winning the World Series would be great. Any of the big players from the Tigers would be great to go back and watch. Greenberg, Willie Horton, Lou Whitaker. There's so many, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Gibson in the World Series. Um, yeah, to be in Tiger Stadium for that, it would be a lot of fun.
So, I guess same question back for the White Sox.
Yep.
Easy. I have two. One would be watching Bo Jackson in a White Sox uniform because I think that'd be so fun.
Is the
And
other Frank Thomas?
I was gonna say, and then the other one would be MVP season Frank Thomas,
That's fair.
just because just how good he was
Oh
too.
yeah.
It was just bigger than everybody else, stronger than everybody else, and he could hit the ball further than anybody else.
Dude was the tank.
He's the big
Too
hurt.
many tanks. Yeah.
That's why he's the big hurt.
Yup. He brought the pain.
He did.
Oh,
So as we're starting
that
to
that'd be a fun season to watch.
believe it was 1993 MVP, but it would be absolutely nuts watching the exploding scoreboard go off so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But as we speak
Heck,
of players,
Kaminsky too.
yep, even
That-
more fun. Old Comiskey Stadium. But speaking of players, we all know what time it is. At least we know what time it is now. Da,
Yep.
da, da, da. There we go. There, because it's a hitting special, our caveat for pitcher is not necessarily random as pull of a pitcher, but we have to name a pitcher who was also ended up being a really good hitter. So an example could be no two-way, so no Babe Ruth, no Shohei Ohtani, and then like obvious guys who were infielders or outfielders and then became pitchers, like Jacob DeGrom, Madison, like Jacob DeGrom pretty much. Oh, what is it gonna be?
Oh, we're not gonna have to use the rule though.
I didn't really want to use the rule. That was gonna be kind of tough.
I kind of did. I also didn't because like I had somebody that I definitely could have won with, but I also didn't want to use it. Not this week at least.
Yeah, I believe you won
So
last week again, tied it
I
up.
did win last week. So I'm gonna Oh, do I want to use this one to go first and try to set the tone? Or do I want you to set the tone?
I mean,
I
that's why
think
I'm
I'll
not
let you
playing.
set the tone again.
You let me set the tone.
One of these weeks I am going to try to set the tone though.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. But I got a pretty good one. This hitter was a cornerstone of the 2008 Cubs team, which was Derek Lee playing first base.
Okay. Mine is John Kruk.
Yeah, John Kruk, a former Philly broadcaster.
Yep, but he played in MLB prior to that with the Padres and the Phillies and one other team. But
I,
most people remember him as a broadcaster.
I don't know. I think I think that because mine went off mainstream, nobody that I kind of win this week.
I was selecting him purely as a player. I
Yeah, I was too.
remember him as a broadcaster.
I remember
Okay.
John Kruk playing. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive to see him play,
I
but
was
like
gonna say you weren't alive to see that.
I don't know, some dude that just completely disappeared after his career ended.
Okay, but we're talking yeah. I would like to see the war comparison on this real quick though. I like
Uh,
genuinely I'm interested to see this.
Same thing as always fan graphs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's funnier. I feel like I can always name more random Cubs players than White Sox players, which feels really weird.
Brock has a lot higher war than I thought he actually would. Oh,
Yeah,
he
he's
actually
not a
played
bad
for White
player.
Sox too. That was the last team he played for was the White Sox. I forgot about that.
Yeah, way, 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 way past his prime, like every other player that ended up on the White
1995.
Sox.
He played 9 seasons. Okay.
What was your war?
Had 27 war even.
I was 34.4, but he also had an MVP level season in 2005 with a 7 war.
Kruk's top war was 4.9 twice, both with the Phillies.
I don't know. I know I was gonna sound biased. I think I picked not only did I pick the better player, I think I picked the randomer player.
I'm going to give it to you on this. I was going to give it to you even before we looked up war. I was just curious to see how the war, um,
It's funny because I
oh
even knew that you had a great year too.
yeah, I'll give you the win this week to be nice.
Oh, no, yeah, I gotta share this out though. I learned a new thing because just randomly once we were watching what was it called? Australian football.
Aussie rules. I
Yeah.
love Aussie
It's
rules.
like it's like rugby combined with soccer with
Oh
like
yeah, I watch Aussie rules
yeah.
like
We were watching it one
legitimately.
night. Oh my God. So fun. So now the greatest thing ever is that this is apparently a
What
goal
team?
call. It's literally that's goal. I'm like,
Nope, it's
well,
my favorite. It's my favorite thing.
just
I'm a big
that's the new
Collingwood
thing.
fan.
That's the new thing. Get a point.
Hmm.
Goal.
Who are you watching?
We were watching Gold Coast versus I don't remember the other team.
Do you remember what their jerseys looked like?
Blue.
Maybe one of the Sydney teams.
You're asking the wrong person. I got no idea.
Yeah, but yeah, I like Collingwood a lot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was funny.
I love Aussie rules. I have an Aussie rules ball, not with me,
Really?
but I do have one. It's at my house, and I'm at my apartment, so I don't have it with me. Yeah. Next week, if you remind me, I can bring it out.
Just like the high school baseball jersey.
Well, okay, my high school baseball jersey somewhere, but I did post pictures of it when I in my About Me video. So it did make an appearance. It just was
Okay.
in picture form.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do actually know where the Aussie rules ball is like immediately.
Nice.
Um,
There we go.
yeah.
All right. So
Talking
now
Aussie rules on the baseball podcast.
I know. See, why not? We don't know where we're going with this, so it's more fun. So I guess
It's
this leads us
we
to
should check it out.
yeah, it makes it more fun.
Fun. It's really fun.
Because you never it's the Forrest Gump quote. Life is like a box of chocolates. Life is like a box of chocolates. God, I can't talk. You never know what you're gonna get. Same thing with our podcast. We start with baseball, we go into Aussie rural football. Who knows? Maybe
It's
next
true.
week we start talking about rugby or cricket. Who knows? So,
Or I don't know, competitive swimming, something like that.
hey, don't bash competitive swimmers.
Hey, I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying that would be a really random one for us to talk about.
Exactly.
It doesn't even have a ball.
I mean, that's water polo at that point.
Well, right, but I'm saying surely competitive swimming doesn't have a ball. So that'd be like way out of left field.
Yeah, so that gets us right back into baseball,
Yeah.
which would be our question of the week, which is who is the most electric hitter in your opinion? It could be current or past player. I can go first as I see you're thinking. It's just literally
I'm gonna have multiple guys.
all right. We'll go one past and one current. All right. I'm gonna do go first. It's very easy. That's literally the entire thing. Everybody knows who that is. Pulling the hat backwards. It's Ken Griffey Jr., absolute legend.
I love that his Cooperstown plaque also has it backwards.
He's so electric in his playing days.
It's great. Yeah, he has one of the nicest swings ever in the game. And if it weren't for injuries, he might be the home run king.
Hmm.
And the fact they got to play with his dad too was pretty cool. Um, and that he didn't like the Yankees, which
Yep,
is
if the
it's
Yankees
fun.
were the only, if I didn't get any other contract offers but from the Yankees, I'd retire.
Yeah, that's legendary. And you know the story behind that, right?
I believe I know his dad played for the Yankees, and it was
Yeah.
something with that.
Yeah, and I could be getting this wrong, but somebody, it was either ownership or, management or something, did not treat his dad very well. His dad like told him something about it, and like Junior was around it too. So he kind of decided that he wasn't playing for the Yankees. I think it would have been interesting had they drafted him, what would have happened.
Hmm. Maybe something different.
Yeah. Like when I was younger, I didn't want to play for the Yankees. Besides the fact that I'm a Tigers fan, I don't really like the Yankees because of that. But the big thing for me was I didn't want to have to do the clean shave.
Hmm.
Uh, so for me, that was my reasoning for that. And like in MLB the show, I don't like you for the same reason, even though it doesn't have that rule, I would still, be like, oh, you gotta honor it because that's just who I am. But yeah, for me, there are certain players that I don't want to go there because of like their beard. Like a Brandon Marsh would be somebody I would not want there, or like a Bryce Harper, guys with like really notable beards.
Hmm.
Um, it would just look weird.
I mean, you saw Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole without the beard.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I just don't like it. Like, let them do what they want, you
Like he
know?
had like a cool tough vibe in Houston, and then he goes to New York, and it's just not the same.
Yeah, baby faces.
Then I said, what was it? Current players too.
Yep.
Um, almost let's see, electric player today. I mean, if it's not Ellie De La Cruz or Ronald Acuna or Shohei, I think that your answer is probably not going to be. Actually, potentially Bobby Witt too. Bobby Witt Jr. looks pretty good.
Okay, fair enough. All those guys are very electric players. I was definitely gonna pick Ellie as one of mine. I would say, can I pick a specific time frame for anybody or
Go
no?
for it.
Okay. WBC Trey Turner.
Oh yes, with my
Um,
jersey. Did I bring it? I do. I do have my jersey.
grab it in a second.
Yeah, let me slide.
Um, Another one would be Bryce Harper. Which I think it's known at this point that I really like Harper. But I also think it would be hard to argue that he's not an electric player. There we go. You
Oh,
want to share the story on why you have that?
I do have a story as to why I have it.
There you go. That
So
was
I
just
made it. So
unsure.
when I was watching, I did like this thing where it's like, oh, if I really like the team that won the championship, or if I like one of the players, like I'll get a jersey if they end up winning the championship. Example: Braves won the World Series. I got a Ronald Acuna jersey. I got the blue one. I knew that was going to be the follow up. So,
That was definitely going to be my follow-up.
so when they somehow won, I got a Ronald Acuna jersey, and I'm like, oh, USA is gonna if they win the WBC, I want a jersey, and I want whoever like the best player was because there were some really good roster. There's some people I thought were very questionable, but in general, I liked it. Then the semifinal game came against Venezuela, and I actually called the Grand Slam. fun fact, because
Oh,
I remember sitting in my living room with my dad watching, and I'm like, and before the at bat starts, I'm like, just watch. They're what USA is down. It's the eighth inning, and Trey Turner's gonna hit a grand slam here. Sure enough, on a 3-2 pitch into the upper deck in left field.
every
2-run
time he
homer and
stepped
up.
up, every time he stepped up to the plate during that, I was just like, please Trey, please Trey. Like every game, because he set a precedent in the prior games that like in the big moments he was gonna strike. So for me, I was just like, please Trey, come on. And like even going back to the show, when I play with him in MLB the show, I'm like, please be WBC Trey. You know,
In the yeah, and I'm like, if I called the home run, he was grand slam. He was super clutch in the entire series throughout the entire tournament, not just that game. I'm like, I gotta get this dude's jersey. Plus, the Team USA jersey is so nice as it is too.
I love him.
And I'm like, okay, that's it. We're going Trey Turner off of DH gate. Had to be sure, not Fanatics. DH gate arrived in like 2 weeks. It was perfect.
There you go. Yeah. I will say if I was to have gotten a jersey, it probably would have been Trout just because I love Trout. Trey would have been a close second on that. Yeah, he was just so good during that. And then really randomly, right after that, he went ice cold for the
Yep.
longest. It was so weird because I was expecting him to like continue that success. I think everybody was really. And then he was kind of just ice cold for the longest time.
But then there was one moment that changed everything.
And that was the standing ovation,
Yep.
which people need to do more often. I
Appreciate the players.
I firmly believe that if anybody is struggling on your team, you should do this. Like the Tigers, we need to do this for Javi. Like, I know everybody might be upset about it. The worst that happens is he continues to play bad, you know? This isn't for anybody though. Like any team. The worst that happens is they continue to play bad. Best case scenario, they turn into WBC Trey Turner. You know, like there's no downside to it, really.
It's like a thing where people see that they're not good, they're in a slump or whatever, they're cold, and rather than appreciate them for being their effort and time and really trying to beat and represent the team, they just get booed and people don't want to see them anymore. But it's like these are people too, and they're
Oh,
putting in a lot of work here just to for your entertainment.
yeah. And a lot of the guys have even said, like, trust me, I know I suck right now. I don't need to hear the booze from you. It doesn't help.
Like the encouragement, it's what it like
Yeah.
it's everything's a mind game. If you
Mhm.
have thinking I suck right now, because I suck, I'm gonna keep hearing I'm gonna suck, you're gonna keep sucking.
Yeah. And none of them want to be playing bad. I don't think anybody's like, oh, I want to bat, below 100 this year. You know, I want to have negative WAR all the time and, you know, be the worst batter in the league. I don't think anybody goes into a season saying that, you
But
know.
yep.
So it's not like they're going up to the plate and trying to be bad. They're trying to play well, but as you said, it's all mental and a mind thing. So if people are booing them and putting them in this bad space and they're already in a bad space, they're just going to play worse.
Hmm.
So you really need to uplift them. And again, worst case scenario, it doesn't work. But best case scenario, you help them out. And also at the same time, you're just being a good person. And instead of criticizing the person for, having a few bad days, you're trying to help them out. I don't think anybody goes to any of our listeners' works, and if they have a bad day, if they screw up something, they boo them, you know. Like if you work at a restaurant, you screw up somebody's order, I don't think anybody boos you,
I can
like
tell you from experience, I have not gotten booed, but I've gotten some very dirty looks.
I'm I'm not saying it's perfect, but you get what I'm saying. Like if you screw up something on a presentation, uh, in a meeting, like somebody doesn't just start booing you, in the corporate world. Like that's not how this stuff works. It's only in sports,
Hmm.
really. Yeah. And I think it'd be interesting to see if people did cheer for a lot of batters, if it would help out. Um, like I only ever boo opposing players, which I think is justified.
That's just
Um,
being
and
a fan.
even then, I don't even do it that much, you know. Most of the time, I'll just be quiet and not have a reaction to it. I will say when I go to Tigers games, like I want to cheer and I will give a small cheer, but I also don't cheer that loud for Javi just because I don't want people getting mad at me. And the fact that I am nervous about people getting mad at me for trying to be supportive also kind of says something,
Oh, 100%.
you know. And it's not just people in Detroit either. It's people at any stadium, you know, any team because people are upset with the players. But the other thing is, you're not going to be doing any better than them out at the plate. You're probably going to
Yep.
do worse. You
Yep.
know, I can almost guarantee you would do a lot worse because very few people would even be able to hit at a double A level, much less an MLB level.
Hmm.
You know, so okay, we got off on a long tangent there.
That's
So
why we have one special treat and we're going back to the wheel.
wait, one thing I haven't said my electric player from the past.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I jumped the gun there.
Yep, I'm going to list two different types. I'm going to list one sheerly from a batting perspective, and then one on the base paths. So Jose Batista,
Yep.
I think that's one of the most iconic electric moments. You know, the home run for the Blue Jays, yeah, such an iconic moment. The tossing of the bat.
Hmm.
And then Ricky Henderson, you know, all around a great player, but especially on the base paths, that dude's a menace. And I
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
love that because I love to see the stolen bases and the speed demons.
You in 80s baseball.
Oh, I am in love with 80s baseball. Minus like all the tobacco and that stuff.
And the
But
steroids.
the play style of it. Yes.
Don't forget those. That was very important.
Yeah, that was like the later 80s though. We can push that off. But
Hmm.
Seelig doesn't want us talking about those anyways.
As now we're gonna have our treat of going back to the wheel.
Yep.
As we're gonna first spin the wheel.
And what is the rules for this again? I know
Well, the one rule is
it's gonna
that
be on
pitcher.
pitcher this time.
Well, the one rule is that pitcher makes no sense for this. So we're gonna have to
Okay,
spin it
well,
again, unfortunately.
what was the prompt? Or what is
We'll
the
have to wait
prompt?
and see. We'll have to wait and see. All right, catcher. This is the first time that catcher's actually popped up.
That
Wow.
is true.
But the prompt here is who is the one player at this position that if you were to start a team right now, and it could be any player from history, who is that starting pitcher? Who is that starting player?
I was gonna say not starting pitcher. So who's gonna be your starting catcher? Surely from an offensive standpoint or an all-around standpoint? That
Just
is
best
that is
catcher.
a big
Best catcher in your opinion in baseball.
I'm gonna list two. One of them's just a favorite of mine, but it wouldn't be my answer for this. Um, and then the other one will actually be my answer. So my favorite one, like my little tidbit would be Lance Parrish.
Hmm.
That's not who I'd end up picking, but fun little shout out and just a random player there. Um, backstop for the Tigers for a long time. Actually, I have his autograph on a card from when he was the manager at the Whitecaps.
There you
Um,
go.
so that was really fun. So that's a favorite player of my family. So um, here's that. But for starting a team, any catcher. Does it have to be like not playing or can it include playing?
They any catcher in MLB history.
Okay. Adley Rushman would make a strong case with how good he is. I'm going to pick Pudge Rodriguez,
Ooh, okay.
but Adley makes a strong case too. Mike Piazza would be another really strong case. Um, but I'm going to go with Pudge, you know. Solid backstop, really good bat. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with Pudge. But
I'm
the
gonna
other
go.
um Piazza and Adley Rutschman are very close, second and third.
I'm also going to go the Hall of Fame route, and it's going to be Johnny Bench.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like for this, you almost have to go the Hall of Fame route.
Yeah, I mean that was, I mean it could have been anybody. I mean if you wanted to say if we were outfielder, you could have said Aaron Judge. Like you'd
Yeah.
absolutely want Aaron Judge being on your team. But I just went Johnny Bench, Big Red Machine. I mean, arguably the best catcher in baseball history. Just great field general out there, and was such a big cornerstone on those Reds teams.
Yeah. No, no, that's a very, very, very fair pick. I I don't blame you for selecting that at all. Um, yeah. I also feel like it's really hard to go wrong with any Hall of Fame catcher,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
That's what makes
yeah.
it fun too. I mean, you can't just go wrong with it because they're all Hall of Famers. Like, there's the
Right.
best of
They're
the
all
best.
good in their own respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that little bonus tidbit, that's going to be it for our hitting special. Hopefully, we got a little batting practice in there with some nice discussion and hit a home run. As I said at the beginning, we really hoped we hit this one out of the park. So, this has been your first baseman, Justin Levy,
And your left fielder, Jonathan Melma.
and we will see you next week for another edition of the Stripe Sox podcast.
Have a good one.